special education has become more focused on strengths and less about the difficulties that students have. When we focus on strengths, we allow students to, or we allow everybody that works with that student to have higher expectations for them, to see everything that they can do, give them opportunities that maybe they didn't get before. Because when you just focus on deficits, it's really easy to say, oh, well, we just can't do as much. But when we focus on the strengths, it really helps us highlight the things that need to be different for that kid so they can be successful in the classroom.
I'm Cristina Janney with the Hays Post-Dineal Radio, and I'm speaking with Kyle Carlin, Director of Special Education Co-op, about the program on this episode of the Hays Post podcast.
West Central Kansas Special Ed Cooperative, WCK-SEC, we cover USD 49 as well as Ellis, Victoria, La Crosse, and Russell. So we end up hitting 3 counties. We provide special ed services to all five districts, as well as the private schools within those districts. We also have staff that work out at Camber. We have staff that work all throughout the communities, providing early childhood special education services and other things. So we get to touch students and work with students in a lot of different places. So.
What is the co-op and what does it do for area schools?
The co-op is just a way that districts come together to provide complex resources or unique resources. It doesn't make sense for one district to employ a physical therapist that maybe they only need for 1 day a week. And so the cooperative allows for those resources to be a little bit more efficient, be handled a little bit differently. But the services we provide all kinds of things. In addition to the special education services, the teaching services that happen in our classrooms, the paraeducator services that happen in our classrooms, we also provide related services such as occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and language pathology. We have sensory impairment services for students that have sensory impairments. We have assistive technology that we provide to students to help support their learning in a variety of ways as well.
A lot of people don't know that gifted education is also a part of the cooperative.
Absolutely, yes. Gifted, some people may know that as Spark in some of our buildings, but that's a unique to Kansas. Not every state includes gifted as a part of special education, and so Kansas is lucky to have that, and we have amazing educators that help support that as well.
Kyle, what are some of the common misconceptions about special education?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that special ed is a place. I often hear about students needing to go to special education. In reality, special education is something that students qualify for. So if a student has a disability or giftedness, they have an exceptionality in any way, then they are determined by a team to be eligible for a service. And special ed is those services, and it can happen in a variety of places. It can happen in the general ed classroom. It can happen in special classrooms, but it really isn't kids going to places. It is students getting something different to help make their education work.
What should parents know about the IEP plans? And that stands for Individual Education Plans?
It actually stands for Individual Education Program.
Programs, okay.
Everybody says plan, but if you look at law, it's technically defined as that. But it means it ends up hitting to the same point. But there are a couple things around that process that I think are really important for everybody that's involved to know. First is that it's really meant to be collaborative. And I know that there can be different experiences that happen, but the goal for every IEP team is for every voice that's a part of that team, whether it's the parent, the general education teacher, the special education teacher, those special providers that we have. Every voice is important in creating that plan because everybody has a different perspective of that child. They have different strengths that they see in that child that they can help pull out and make that plan be even better for that student.
What's an example of something that might be in an IEP?
An IEP includes, again, people always think about the services, those special teachers that are working with students, but the other things that are included in the IEP are things like accommodations, changes in the classroom that will make that classroom work better for that student. Accommodations are things that keep the same learning goals for a student. And then there are also modifications that actually change the learning goals for that student for a particular reason. But those things can make the general ed classroom work even better for a student without needing all those special services. There's also, of course, a lot of different technical things that go into the IEP to make sure that each part of the school day is considered for that student.
Okay. So, how has special education evolved over your career, and what changes excite you most? How long have you been with special education?
This is my 14th year in special education. I spent 7 years as a school psychologist, and now this is my 7th year as an administrator. And really, there's two things that have really gotten me excited in changes. First and foremost is special education has become more focused on strengths and less about the difficulties that students have. When we focus on strengths, we allow students to, or we allow everybody that works with that student to have higher expectations for them, to see everything that they can do, give them opportunities that maybe they didn't get before. Because when you just focus on deficits, it's really easy to say, oh, well, we just can't do as much. But when we focus on the strengths, it really helps us highlight the things that need to be different for that kid so they can be successful in the classroom. The other thing that I'm really excited about, or has really been exciting for me, is the effort to get all students grade level instruction. Hayes and our member districts have done an excellent job of getting students into the classroom more. Students that maybe in the past would have been pulled out to work in a separate classroom. We still have some of that. We still have students that need that specialized instruction on a specific skill, but really we also need to make sure they're getting access to grade level content, because we're never going to catch them up if they're not hearing that vocabulary and interacting with it. Things like assistive technology and other things that help support that learning and help make that time meaningful has been really, really valuable. So,
paraeducators are a huge part of the special education co-op. Tell me a little bit more about the role of paras and how can someone become a para?
Absolutely. So paras are critical to everything we do. We employ 200 paras across our districts. Without those individuals working with our students, there's so much that we need to do for students that just wouldn't happen. And so it's super critical. They do work closely with our teachers. They make sure that the plans that teachers are developing, whether it's the gen ed teacher or the special ed teacher, that they're helping make sure those plans are being carried out. They focus on the academics and the social emotional supports. But really, people often think about paras are there for a kid, and they are, but they might be there. They might work with other students in the classroom besides the student that they're assigned for, because their real purpose is about making the classroom work better for that student. So there might be a time when the general ed teacher, that content area specialist, needs to spend a little bit extra time with that student, and our paraeducators would maybe work with a small group or the whole group to help keep everything else rolling, but it ensures that that classroom is working better for that student, which is really, really awesome. We are, of course, preparing for next school year already. We do have some openings. We haven't determined exactly where all the openings will be in our different buildings in our different districts. We do have an anticipated opening position posted on our application site. People can go to USD49.com, select our, click the hiring link, and you'll be able to see a post there where you can apply. It'll go into a general pool, but there'll be questions there about which schools you'd prefer, and you'd be able to, when the positions, the specific positions are posted, we'll be able to get those applications moved around to those postings. So,
what kind of qualifications do you have to work as a para?
So to work as a paraeducator, you have to have a bachelor's degree. You have to have your high school diploma. I was thinking on teachers.
Teachers.
You have to have your high school diploma. You have to be able to pass a background check, and you have to have hours or be available for hours during the school day. We are very flexible. We do have full-time positions, but we also hire part-time. Our schools are very flexible in working with people. If they can only work mornings, we can usually find a way to help get you connected with that. So.
Okay. Summer break is approaching. What are some of the things parents can do to help support growth during the summertime?
There's a lot of things. The biggest thing that school helps provide for a lot of our students with disabilities is structure and routine. And so I think it's really important for parents to find ways to still have some structure and routine. Of course, summer comes with changes in schedule, changes in all kinds of things, but the more we can find a common routine or a consistent routine, the better it's going to be for students from social emotional point of view as well as an academic point of view. I would encourage them to read every day, whether it's the child is reading books themselves or the parent is reading to them. Our library has a great summer reading program that getting people in, like the Hayes Public Library has a great great summer reading program that people can get involved with. I would also encourage people to stay active, get your kids involved with sports, Hayes Rec Center activities, Buffalo Adventures with the ARC. They have some really awesome activities, but really being physically and socially active is super, super important because it helps with some of those routines and some of those structures that just help kids still have the interactions that they need and those kinds of things. And then lastly, we just posted on our website, and it just went on our Facebook page this morning, a list of summer activities that parents can consider for academic, social, and other types of needs. So I encourage people to go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WCKSEC, to find that link.